Whitney,
I've never been paranoid.
fear plays a large part in family life.
I feel like something's gonna happen. And if I scratch the surface, there'll be something terrible underneath.
He's afraid his sister
Could you zip me up, Billy?
is not what she seems.
God, Bill, what's the matter with you?
He thinks his friends are out to get him.
Make waves, Whitney. You're gonna drown.
People are what they are. Now you have to learn to accept that.
He's about to find out the truth
Why are you guys doing this to me, huh?
What, you've been living with these people all your life and you didn't know anything about this?
is far worse than he could ever imagine.
If you don't follow the rules, Billy, bad things happen.
Didn't you know, Billy boy? The rich have always sucked off low-class scum like you.
Uh-oh, Billy.
Clarissa? Don't be so intense. Now, some people make the rules and some people follow the rules. It's a question of what you're born to.
You never were one of us.
You know, you really deserve what's going to happen to you.
I don't think so. Wait. Can't you see they're setting you up for something?
You know how I hate to give you drugs.
You're officially dead.
Don't go home, Billy.
No.
Bill Whitney is about to become one
Showtime, Billy!
with society.
Who are you?
Let me give you a hand, Bill.
In Beverly Hills, what you fear is only the beginning.
Anything for society.
Welcome to They Call This a Movie, testing the strength of friendships one terrible movie at a time. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and other podcast services by searching They Call This a Movie. We are part of the Main Damie Network, and to find more from us, check out the website at themaindamie.com or on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at The Main Damie. We're also now a prime member of Geek Vibes Nation. You can find them at gvnation.com. Welcome back to They Call This a Movie. This is Anthony Del Vecchio. With me, as always, is Dan Aquino and Mark Myers. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Yeah, so one question. Was one section of this movie that we watched this week also in Miami Connection? Or did it just look very similar? If you know, when he's running through the jungle-like area.
I thought you were talking about the third act, and I was going to say that we've saw two very different versions of Miami Connection.
No.
You don't remember the orgy scene in Miami Connection?
Dragon Sound, man.
Dragon Sound just free balling it.
Yeah, was that filmed in LA or was that filmed in Orlando? I forget. It just looked
That
very
was filmed in
familiar.
Orlando, remember?
Okay.
Yeah, this was Beverly Hills.
Okay. Yeah, that the final fight in Miami Connection was very similar to the woods part of this movie.
I feel like all woods look like to Philadelphian.
No, yeah.
Trees.
It had that bridge, and it just looked very familiar. As I'm talking through it, I realized they were filmed in two different locations.
That joke always reminds me of I had a family member who lived in Manhattan, and when he would come to visit, we had trees and squirrels and stuff. What the fuck are those things? It's a deer. We don't have that in the city. Like we don't know any of this stuff. So it's so weird that we're so close together, and yet it's like worlds apart.
Yeah. My parents, they have like a lot of deer that are around their house, and they had like a whole bunch of family over one day, and just like everybody from Jersey City and New York were just like flabbergasted with how close the deer were getting to the house. They're like taking pictures through the windows, like, oh my God, look at this.
What do you call these things?
Venison, mostly.
Deer, man.
Besides that, gentlemen, what have you guys watched this week?
This week was a good week for me, actually. I hunkered down and I watched some good horror movies. I went to see Halloween Kills on Friday, opening night. And yeah, it kills all right. There's a lot of killing. Remember the original Halloween that kind of relied on suspense and some jump scares? But like basically you didn't see, there was no blood in it. Very right. Hardly any blood,
Yep.
if any. They do a complete 180 on this one, and it's how much blood can we have in a Halloween? And the answer is a lot, because Michael kills around 50 people. It's a lot of people. I thought it meandered a good amount. No spoilers. I think again, Anthony, you had the perfect idea for this, and it absolutely would have followed into this where there is no Michael Myers. Michael dies in Halloween, and then the following Halloween 2018, and this there is no Michael Myers. It's just the idea of Michael Myers is what gets people freaked out. That would have been perfect for this movie because it plays heavily into it. But of course there is a Michael Myers. But God, the entire time I'm watching it, I just kept thinking that would have been perfect. There's random killings happening, and it's the 40th anniversary of the Myers killings. It's got to be him. He's got to be back, and some random dude. But man, I thought that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
But overall, not a huge fan of it. Probably give it like a 6 out of 10.
Dan, did it very much feel like a movie that has another one coming after it already scheduled?
Yeah. I mean, it sets up at the end. Clearly, it sets up.
Did it very much have a Back to the Future 2 vibe to it?
No. I mean, they just, short of Danny McBride just walking onto the screen and saying, Michael Myers will be back in Halloween Ends. Yeah, they really leave no doubt to it. There's no after credit scene or anything like that. Yeah, I thought the idea was good. The execution was poor. And it was too long, 2 hours. I don't need that. So I watched that, and then I went a little old school. I watched some of the Hammer films with Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing, where the horror of Dracula, with Lee as Count Dracula and Cushing as the Van Helsing. And then I watched The Curse of Frankenstein, where Lee was the monster and Cushing was Victor Frankenstein. Pretty good movies. I think if you're a horror fan, they're worth a look just for if you know the older Universal ones. I think these are a step up, a better atmosphere, some blood in there. Not scary, but still well acted. Very fun movie. And then I watched VHS 94, and Anthony, I know you watched that as well. I agree. I thought the first couple of stories were really good. Yeah. I enjoyed them with the Ratman.
Ratman was good. I liked the
Ratman was good.
I liked the funeral one. I thought the funeral one was the best.
That was really good. Yeah.
Oh.
In terms of like scary story, I think that one was the best.
I thought the third one had an interesting concept until it turned into a first-person shooter.
Oh, that's the robot, the cyborgs. Yeah, I mean that one was just like fun, like a bloody mess at the end. And they did a good job of keeping you in suspense of what the main character in that story looked like. I did like that. I thought that was cool, and there was some really good gore shock in there. Some body. What do they call it? Body horror. Yeah, good body horror. Then it went downhill. From
I think once the reveal happens, like I'm over it. In that story. Correct. Like that's the best part is the reveal, and then it's just like, all right, now it's got a gun and it's just gonna to everybody it comes in contact with.
Right. It becomes Doom essentially, or like Wolfenstein. So I mean I liked it overall, but not my favorite.
Did you understand the wraparound story? Because I sure as hell didn't.
I hated the wraparound story. That was so stupid. Like, why did you need everything else to show like this guy was a white supremacist? That was right. Is that am I getting it right? Okay, yeah, because I know the final story is the vampire, and it's like a group of white supremacists have a vampire, and they plan on blowing up a office building or something like that. And then the wraparound story ends with the two female officers basically murdering the one male officer. Because he was in the last video, apparently. I can't remember. Yeah, that was. You know what? It was that movie was made to destroy toxic masculinity, bro. Right? And I won't stand for it. But I don't know. I didn't get it really. I like the first three. I thought those were worth the price of admission.
Yeah, I mean, It was free, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it took up
That's
time,
true.
and my time is
You
worth
can't
money,
put a
sir.
price on time, right? Especially
You can't. I'll never get
especially
that
in our
back.
advanced ages.
Yeah, right. The precious moments ticking away.
What about you?
But those were really the only movies that I were worth mentioning.
What about you, Mark?
Yeah, so I really only watched one thing this week, and it's something Aunt got me hooked on when we were up in NYC. I watched the first half of season 1 of I Think You Should Leave. It's amazing. Just the cadence of all the skits, if that is the right word to use for that. Where you can, if you see the first frame or first line delivered in a skit, you have no idea what that's going to be by the last line of the skit.
Sure.
And it is quite amazing to do that, especially coming from most of my skit comedy shows and stuff, being a little more predictable than this is, and I think that's the joy of it. I as I said to you guys off air after watching it, I think I like the consistency of season 2, at least to me. Maybe I'll by the time I finish it, maybe it'll be more. But there were just some things in season 2 that literally had me doing the cry laughing moments when we were in New York. And I've only had a couple of close moments with this. Yeah, definitely, and definitely his use of actors that you've seen before, but not be 100% like A-list famous. You know, like Glenn from The Walking Dead's in it. I believe it's Will Forte is in one of the skits. Yeah, and it's just that stuff where he can get these people to like do these skits. Yeah, and I did get a good chuckle out of the whole skit surrounding the T-shirt tuggers.
TC Tops from TC
thing.
Tuggers.
TC Tuggers. Yeah. Just the whole concept is great because I obviously do that with my shirts. But the fact of setting it behind the emotional high school backdrop just made me laugh because they were hitting on all of those tropes in the opening conversation. Was great. Yeah, and to have it end with him just being a giant walking ad for those T-shirts is amazing. Yeah, it's real good. I highly recommend it for anybody that likes a little bit offbeat comedy. And it's worth it. They're short episodes. I think a whole season is probably the length of a movie, roughly.
Yeah, it's about 2 hours.
Yeah, so it's you can do it in one sitting. And if I didn't have to go to sleep because I started it late, because my PS5 had soft locked on Deathloop. So I was like, what to do? Maybe I'll watch this. And if it wasn't like 1 a.m, I probably would have finished it. But yeah, that's about all I watched. Yeah, I don't think there's any. I don't think I've watched movies. Lately, I've been thinking about doing it a lot more than playing video games.
I love when your updates are like you thinking about watching movies.
Yeah. No, I literally had.
I thought about it for 20 minutes this week, guys.
What was it?
Really put some effort into thinking about it.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
The step in the right direction.
The level of thinking has improved because now I actually open the streaming apps.
One step at a time, man.
It's not about should I? Nah, I won't even look it up. Now I'm going through, going, nah, nothing's catching me. And
you're like an agoraphobe. Like you're afraid to go outside, but you'll open the door, like
look out the
okay,
window.
Yeah, and then the next step is getting you to like the mailbox.
Yeah. The funny part is that I used to watch. They were all terrible movies, but I did actually used to watch a lot of movies. When Netflix was doing the disc delivery system in college. I don't know if it's probably a little bit of the paralysis of choice,
right?
Being on free streaming services. But it's starting to I think it's because there's a little lull in games a little bit, and it's a little colder. I'm inside a little bit more.
It's
so
cuffing season.
I might have more. To talk about, but yeah, I look forward to finishing the second half of that season, and then is season 3 announced, or did they say anything?
They have not.
Okay,
but it's got a rabid fan base, so Hopefully, season
Yeah.
3.
Hashtag season 3.
He does have they have a short series called The Characters, where it was like it was, I think it was only like 6 episodes, but it was like there's like 6 comedians that had their own episode, and
Okay.
it's basically another 5 sketches. He's got an episode that's like basically another 5 sketches of I Think You Should Leave. So you can find that if
Good.
you're looking for more to watch from him. Yeah.
And I'll give you this one thing, Ant, from watching that second season. Every time I go to the bathroom now, I immediately think of Calico Cut jeans. Your Calico Cut pants.
Calico Cut pants, man. You got to give.
Every time, because my brain is broken.
Okay, for me, it took me this entire time to think about the movies that I've seen this week because they're all running together at this point. The one thing that didn't run together was the remake of Night of the Demons, which is just an awful movie. Edward Furlong is very tired and coke bloaty in it. For some reason, he's in it. And there's really not much to write home about in that movie. All the girls are cute. Shannon Elizabeth in goth attire works 100%. Monica Keena is looking cute. Diora Baird and some other chick. Everyone's looking pretty good except for Edward Furlong. That sucked. Actually all the movies that I watched this week weren't particularly good. Demons was actually pretty good. I believe that's Bava. It's like an Italian horror, Italian zombie movie, more or less, but they call it Demons. But it's pretty zombie-like. It's super 80s. Lamberto Bava is the director, and it's got music from Billy Idol. It's got White Weddings in it, and there's some Motley Crue, and I think somebody else too. It's super weird. It's super new wavy. It's weird, but it wasn't bad. It was probably the best movie I watched this week. Because the other movie I watched, and I am going to pull it up because I don't think I'll remember the name of it. I believe it's called Things Heard and Seen. It's a Netflix film starring Amanda Seyfried, and this movie sucked.
Oh, it was so.
Oh, you watched
boring.
it? Okay, yes.
Yeah, I watched it a few weeks ago. I forgot about it.
This movie, man, fuck this movie.
And that movie would not make a good episode just because nothing happens.
So for 2/3 of it, it doesn't, and then they just like drop everything on you. It's like, oh no, yeah, this guy's insane.
They try to pull like a Hereditary, where again for 2/3 of the movie nothing really happens, but with Hereditary, obviously it builds up. There are some things that go on, obviously, like the beheading, but it's more it builds more suspense. This it doesn't do that. I know it tries to, but yeah, it's really a snooze fest.
And there are supernatural things in it, and the supernatural stuff is so fucking hokey. It's like I wish there was nothing supernatural in it. It was just a story about this dude gaslighting his wife the entire time, and everyone around him. Really,
that would be more interesting, right? Because you're dealing with a sociopath, and that's pretty scary in its own way.
I was telling Lynn, my wife, the story of what happens in it.
Oh, what?
Yep.
Sorry.
What year is it?
Right, I was just saying that was a thing.
Anyway, I was told Lynn the story and the supernatural part of it, and we're gonna spoil it because this movie is a piece of shit. While she's fighting with her sociopath of a husband, she calls out to the ghost that is in her house to help her because she's the ghost of a woman that was in a similar situation 20 years previous to that, and there's another ghost that a woman was murdered by her husband 100 years before that, and it's all about like that kind of shit. And so she calls out to the ghost to help, and you would think the ghost would help her, but the ghost really doesn't. She gets murdered by her husband with an axe. And so so Lynn was like, so the ghost didn't do anything. It's like, yeah, really, no, ghost didn't help whatsoever, which is pretty funny, to be honest with you. But yeah, Ghost was busy. And there was like an odd obsession with this like real theologian that I don't remember his name at this point anymore. But F. Murray Abraham is in it as like this guy's mentor, and they're talking about theology and stuff. And they mentioned this one guy's name like 100 times, and like it was so weird to me that they were so like just obsessed with this one theology guy. I don't even remember his name.
And it really doesn't tie into the movie, if I
It
remember
just
correctly. It really has nothing
it
to
just
do with it.
the whole movie just ends on that one painting. It's like, all right, who gives a shit? Like that the end is so underwhelming. Like he just tries to ride away on a boat and it just freeze frames into a painting that they've talked about previously. It's so bad. So bad. And I like Amanda Seyfried.
I feel like this movie wanted to be an A24 film
Yeah.
so badly.
That it does.
It was like an A23 film or something.
Yeah, it's got A23, 24 written all over it. Like, oh, maybe they'll pick it up.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
Because in its tone and the way it's shot is similar to Ghost
Mhm.
Story. I mean, and again, that movie is really more. It's more story based. There's no scares in
No.
Ghost Story as far as I remember. But yeah, that's more. It's more of like a sad movie.
Yeah,
Ghost Story.
is like
That's what I was kind of getting.
yeah, Ghost Story is like a kind of a story more about loss and time and how you deal with loss
Mm.
over time and how quickly time moves and how you could. That's a phenomenal movie. I love that. I really like that movie.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, and that's done well, way better than this. I got that vibe from this movie that it was trying to be more of again more of story driven, and yeah, it was just nothing happens until until the third act really.
yeah, it's so weird. And everybody's fucking teenagers in it too.
No teenagers are fucked in that movie. Ian.
Things heard and
as
seen.
far as I remember. Yeah,
Amanda Seyfried fucks.
I don't remember
She
that.
fucks the gardener kid.
He's a teenager in that. I thought he was like in his
He might
20s.
like I'm 19 is still a teenager.
That's true.
And then
yeah.
and
Borderline, but
then her
still.
husband fucks the girl from Stranger Things. Not 11, but the sister.
Natalie?
Nancy.
Nancy Wheeler. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Jesus Christ, this movie. I forgot she was in it.
Yeah, because that's not a that part of the story doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. Because the kid goes
Yeah, a lot of
because the kid goes to the police station and is like, I think this guy killed this person. And they're like, yeah, but you got no proof. And that's the end of both of their stories. Both the gardener kid and the girl from Stranger Things. That's the end of their stories. Serves no purpose at all.
Well, I mean, that's very true to life, I think. You have no proof, so we're not going to investigate this.
Yeah, it's probably true. But yeah, this movie sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, this sucked. Don't watch it. It's not even much of a horror movie either.
No. Again, not until the end and becomes semi-horror, if I remember.
He just lies about it. He's just been lying about everything. It's like he doesn't even paint. He's been calling himself a painter. He just killed his cousin and took his paintings and called himself a painter. He has a professor job because he forged the recommendation letter from his professor. And he's fucking
again,
he's fucking on around.
It's cooler if it's just like he's a sociopath, and again, he's gaslighting everybody, and she's trying to. I think that does better than how it turns out.
It's
but,
like
yeah,
it's like if it's American Psycho from the perspective of whoever was unfortunate to marry Patrick Bateman.
Yes,
that's a much more
yes,
interesting story instead of this ghost is going to help me.
And it's always a fun. I enjoy that in movies where the main character is trying to convince others that there's creepy shit going on. I mean, that's a classic trope, but if done well, I think it's so effective because then you don't know if the main character is crazy. Like maybe they're seeing things that aren't there, or they're just misremembering things. I think that's done so much better.
Yeah, not here though.
No, maybe in the movie we watched. That I mean, they have some good gaslighting in this movie a little bit. It's a little freaky where you don't know if the main character's seeing shit.
Definitely. So yeah, that's all we watched this week, and we're gonna take a quick break and let's some ads so we can pay those bills, and we'll be back in a second. And welcome back. Now it's time to get into this week's movie, and this week was my pick. I picked a movie that I saw for the first time a few years ago for 31 Days of Horror, and actually kicked off 31 Days of Horror in 2017. And that movie is the 1989 film Society. And this is an odd one, man. And I kind of love it. But, gentlemen, where are you coming from with Society? Dan, we'll start with you.
I've seen Society once before, and yeah, I did enjoy it. It's very silly. It's very it's super campy. It's right up my alley. This is a slower movie too. It does a little bit of when I mentioned, is the main character crazy? Are they seeing things that's not there? And then just kind of really hammers you with the third act. I like this movie. It's not subtle. This movie is anything but subtle, with, obviously its message of higher society feeding off of the lower class. They definitely don't hide that. Yeah, this is an interesting movie. I'm glad to go back and revisit it. It's got some good practical effects in it. The acting it's straight up B movie acting at times, and it's just a strange movie. It's you're not gonna like it unless you like the schlocky 80s B. So if that's not your style, avoid this movie. But if you enjoy some really good practical effects and everyone's super sweaty, I don't know. Do you, if you like super sweaty people, you might like this movie. But if not, don't watch it.
Great. What about you, Mark? I'm interested to hear about your take on this.
Yeah. So before I get into my take, I'm going to do the one Mark's random knowledge about one of the actors in the movie. So it bothered me for the first two scenes or so with the main character Bill. So I looked it up, and I knew once I saw it, I was like, yep, that's exactly who he is. He played a character called AJ Quartermain on General Hospital in the late 90s. So that was one of my Mark finds a weird reference point to an actor in a movie. But yeah, so everything Dan said mostly is that for me the third act makes up for the rest of the movie, because it was dragging a little bit for me. Only because I kind of sort of, I don't know if they were trying to hide it as much, but I was like, all right, I kind of know what's going on here. I want to get to what the big reveal is. The gaslighting was pretty cool, but there wasn't you kind of knew who was on his side and who wasn't, and things like that pretty much early on. I don't know if that was the acting or the writing, but yeah, it was the only real reveal, which I did enjoy, was exactly what they were at the end, and the message of the movie, which a lot of these, some of these 80s horror movies tried to put that into the movie. I love the idea of a little bit of foreshadowing in parts with how he ends up killing his rival, where the rival tells him to watch that guy, and because that'll be you next, and then he kind of sees how that guy dies and kind of flips it. But yeah, it was a fun final act of craziness at the end. But the whole, I feel like with a little bit stronger writing, the whole gaslighting stuff in the beginning would have been a little more effective on me. But I am glad I watched it, because the whole gross out thing once everything is revealed at the end does kind of remind me a little bit of Slither in that sense, and that's probably one of my favorite horror movies. So the campiness was great, and I'm just anticipating hearing you guys talk a little bit more about it.
Okay, yeah. This movie is definitely obviously made by the last act, the shunting scene.
The shunting.
The shunting. It's like one of the most unique things I've seen in a long time. Just the whole idea of it is mind blowing, and they do a pretty good job of it. Like they plant the seeds of like something's not up, but I feel like you really can't figure out what this is all leading to until the very end.
Yeah.
It's unexpected. And that's what I like about this movie is that it kind of sort of how we're talking about episodes of I Think You Should Leave, sketches like that, where it starts off at one place
Yeah.
and then it goes to a very different place. Yeah, this movie's crazy. I had a
Yeah.
great time revisiting this though. Billy Warlock was your main character. He's actually the son of Dick
Yep.
Warlock, who is a famous stuntman, and also he played Michael Myers in Halloween 2, which is a fun
Oh, he's horror royalty.
Yeah.
Dick Warlock and Billy Warlock.
Oh,
Who became a soap opera star.
Yeah, he's a lot of soap opera stuff I saw because he was.
Yeah.
While I was watching him, he looked familiar to me, but I didn't know him in anything. I think he had like a James Marsden look to him, maybe.
Yeah.
well, I thought he looked like John
Ooh,
Stamos.
little John Stamos too. I was thinking too. I think it was the hair. Yeah.
Yeah. The big time hair, and he sounded like a young Michael
I thought
J.
the same
Fox.
thing too. I was gonna say a little James Marsden with Michael J. Fox thrown in there. Yeah, I think he's really good in this. I think the moments when he like snaps at the end after he comes out of the hospital, it was like, I like this. I like where he's unhinged, but because he kind of knows he's right, which was an interesting. And he's
Yeah.
got this great line where he's like, "I'm not paranoid. All my fears are real." I thought that was such a good line.
Yeah.
But yeah, this movie is so wacky, so fucking crazy.
Do you think I'm going to go out on a limb here? I'm going to say this movie directly inspired Stanley Kubrick to make Eyes Wide Shut.
Maybe. Never
What do you
know.
think?
And now he's dead, so we'll
Why
never
not,
know.
right? Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like I'm stamping it. This was
Yep.
why he made Eyes Wide Shut. Prove me
Yeah,
wrong. You
it's
can't.
the precursor. It's probably what like Scientology orgies look like.
It could be. I love how this movie ends, by the way. Nothing gets solved.
Yep.
And it ends on a joke. It's this movie.
Yeah.
It's really unique in that way. You know, most horror movies or most movies in general, right? There's a climax and there's a resolution. This does not give you a resolution. The protagonists they get away, but nothing is really solved. It's just like until the next time this happens, the society is still the society.
Yeah. Now, one thing with this, I wasn't 100% sure. Was the one girl that like seduces him and he leaves with? Was she 100% in the society, or
I think against her will.
I believe.
Okay.
I believe
That's
she's part of them. But she
Okay.
was. I guess she caught feelings.
She did.
Okay.
Billy's got that. He lays the
Yeah.
pipe. That convinces her like I can't be in the society anymore.
Yeah, they never fully explain her mom's situation, but
Yeah. She just like cares.
but I kind of love the sitcom her and Milo have as the side story.
Yeah.
It's like buddy cops.
Yeah. I love that the whole hair thing pays off with the joke at the end.
Yeah.
Where she goes to grab the cop's hair and he's wearing a toupee.
She's like Sloth from the Goonies,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah, like I never understood. I don't understand what happened to her. I guess did she participate in a shunting then that went wrong?
Like, that wouldn't make sense, but they don't tell you.
Because like I don't know if it's like we see the judge come out of the shunting and he then has the mole that whatever his name was, I forgot all of a sudden.
Pritchard or
Blanchard has. So I guess there's some sort of absorbing that goes on of what they feast on. So I wonder if like they feasted on something that wasn't ripe, wasn't fresh as they called it, and she wound up.
Yeah, because they weren't in their prime,
and she wound up with whatever it is she's dealing with. Because when Clarissa puts her to bed, she says that my mom does things that I don't approve of. So I wonder if that's
that could have been anything.
But I wonder if that's like because she's obviously is an unwilling participant in the shunting at the end, Clarissa. But I wonder if that's what she meant by that.
But on the bright side, the mom doesn't care that her daughter's having premarital
Yeah,
sex.
just boning.
So
She's
that's a
just walking
plus.
around like shirt open. She's like, "Mom, get you
Yeah.
to bed."
Yeah, that's a little awkward, but hey, I guess she's
I
unaware
guess.
of what's going on. So, I mean, kudos. You can do whatever you want there.
And Clarissa apparently does.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. My favorite part of one of my favorite parts of the movie is the jealous ex-girlfriend. What is it, Jenny? No, that's Shauna. Or Shauna. So Shauna breaks up with Billy, and Billy's able to like seal the deal real quick with Clarissa like that night. And then Shauna gets all pissy. Who does he think he is? Like, you dumped him. You said we should see other people. That's not fair. You can't get mad at Billy. Billy's just, he's getting over you.
By getting under Clarissa.
Yeah.
I mean, he's big man on campus.
And,
He's captain of the basketball team. He's gonna be class president for some reason.
Right. And he's the I think he runs the debate team too.
Maybe. I mean, I know those debates are for class president. Yeah.
Okay. I thought at one point he mentions that he's captain of the debate
Maybe.
team.
It doesn't really come up in terms of the plot of this movie, if it is.
No, not at all.
The sister in this movie was one of those actresses when we watch these 80s horror movies and stuff where I'm like, why wasn't she in more things? Like, she perfectly fits these type of campy horror movies in that time frame.
Sure.
Yeah, all of them. All of them were kind of like, what? Why wouldn't she, like, Clarissa's super hot.
Yeah.
She is. Yeah, Devin Vasquez. The Vasquez.
Yeah.
She was good. Again, but the acting is again super B level. Sometimes like you could tell Shauna is reading the lines and not acting. But Billy, I thought Billy was really good at having a mental breakdown. He's very convincing.
Every time Milo showed up, I was thinking of Ben Platt playing a high schooler in Dear Evan Hansen. I just got those vibes. He also kind of
and everyone is in their mid-20s at least.
He also kind of gave me. He looked like a lot like the kid that played Stanley in It in the new It 2017. And I was like, is he his dad? Maybe. But they are not really. But he looked a lot like him. That's So Society, directed by Brian Yuzna, which I forgot to look up his other credits. He did Beyond Reanimator.
Bride of the Reanimator, I think. Or is it Beyond?
I think he did both, actually.
Might have. Yeah, this movie is, like, especially the ending, it definitely has some, like Mark said, Slither, Reanimator vibes. There's another B movie that we watched recently that it kind of gave me the same vibe of. I can't recall what it was. It'll come to me.
So he did Bride of Reanimator, Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, Initiation, Return of the Living Dead 3, The Dentist 2, Faust, Beyond Reanimator. It stars Billy Warlock, Ben Slack, Evan Richards, Patrice Jennings, Tim Bartel, Charles Lucia, Heidi Kozak Haddad, Brian Brimmer, Ben Meyerson, and Devin DeVasquez. Has an IMDb score of 6.5 and a Rotten Tomato score of 62%. Got a budget of $2 million, but I could not find any box office number. You guys want to get into the plot?
Yeah, we could do that.
All right.
For sure.
Dan, what do you got for us this week?
All right. Just going to give a quick shout out to our good friends, Tia and Brittany, and their podcast, Tea Time with Tia. It's a weekly podcast where Tia and Brittany get together and discuss topics such as favorite movies, TV, what's going on in the world of superheroes. Just a free-form podcast, two friends shooting the shit. So if you're into that, that's the podcast for you. Tia and Brittany are awesome people. They are good content creators. Tia is also a head writer for Geek Vibes Nation. Brittany streams. She's a great streamer, Itty Bitty Brit. So if you enjoy streaming, she plays a variety of games. She's awesome. Tia's awesome. Go check them out. Tia's at TC_Stark on Twitter. And I believe Brittany is at Itty Bitty Brit. So there you go. Give them a follow.
Okay, great. And we are going to be back in a second. And you guys are going to listen to some messages from friends of the podcast. And we will be right back.
Hey, this is Ken M.
Padawan J.
Coach Duffy. From the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour podcast. Every week, the ODPH is talking sports, movies, TV, comics, and more. It's always a parlay of topics on each episode. You can find the ODPH on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, and wherever you find great podcasts, such as the one you're listening to right now. Don't forget to check out OchoDuroParlayHour.com, where you can find the links to all of the ODPH social media accounts, links to the bands whose music you hear each week on the show, hashtag 607 podcast info, and parlay points, our companion blog section of the show. Thanks for listening to the ODPH. Now get back to your regularly scheduled podcast.
Welcome, travelers. Seems like you're looking for a story. Well, I got one for you. It involves adventure, friendship, and all sorts of...
Earl, why don't you tell him about that time I stole that big-ass melon?
Yeah, I was going for more...
Or you could tell him about the time I kicked your ass, Earl.
I wouldn't ever tell them.
Do I need to get my ref gear on?
Okay, everyone, shut up. Now come with me as I tell you a story from afar. Hey everybody, my name's David. I'm the DM for From Afar Podcast. From Afar Podcast is all about four friends separated by distance, but brought together by adventure. Hope you all stop by and give us a listen. Thanks.
And welcome back. Now it's time to get into the plot for Society. We open on a very affluent home at night, and we follow Bill, a sweaty teen, walk through the house following distant whispers and laughs. He fetches a kitchen knife and continues to explore the house as the voices continue. He eventually sits down in a corner and is happened upon by his mom. We then cut to him talking to his therapist, telling him that he's scared by his parents, his sister, his therapist, says that he feels like something is going to happen. And he takes a bite out of an apple and then he spits it out to reveal worms. Then we go to credits as some almost alma mater type song is sung over some interesting footage of what can only be described as a very slimy orgy. I forgot this plays over the credits because it is kind of spoiling it a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like kind of slightly out of focus. You don't really know what's going on. But watching it a second time, and I was like, I'm surprised they put this up front.
Yeah, I guess it's one of those things like with some RPG video games. They have that opening movie, before you press start, that basically ruins half the game.
And you don't know it at the time.
And you don't know it at the time. Yeah.
But I feel like, I guess I watched it first and I didn't really think about it. But I feel like if I watched this again, I'd be like, I'm going to remember this. But
yeah,
I guess you don't really think about it in no context. You don't really know where it's going to play in. Then we come out of credits and we cut back into the house as Bill and his friend Milo are playing basketball in the driveway. As they do, a beaten up van pulls up and Billy calls out to his sister that Blanchard is here to see her. She sticks her head out. Yeah.
Real quick. We cannot pass over this scene without mentioning that Billy dunks. And what a bunch of bullshit. Billy is probably like my height. Right? He's probably like 5'8", 5'9". No way he's dunking. And he clears the rim. It's not like him just barely getting up and, two-hand dunking. He jams that goddamn ball in there.
Yeah.
And that made me, okay, let's calm down. Let's pump the brakes there, movie. We know that's not really happening.
Yeah, and there's no camera cuts at all. Just one steady camera shot.
On a 7.5 foot rim.
Yep. If it's that high, it's probably a little lower.
Blocks the cars in because it's so low. It's like, Billy, you got to raise that.
You got to raise it. Really just building up his ego there. Good job, Billy. We know you can do it. Our little basketball star.
His sister Jenny sticks her head out of her bedroom window and tells Bill to get rid of Blanchard because she can't see him anymore. Meanwhile, his sister is getting ready in some sort of debutante gown. She goes and fetches an earring from the closet. Blanchard comes out of the closet and grabs her. He throws her down on the bed and tries to cover her mouth, and he tries to tell her something, but she won't listen to him. So Bill comes in.
Rightfully so.
Absolutely. Blanchard is not very tactful in this situation.
I've always found out the best way to tell someone something is forcing them into a very awkward position and scaring the shit out of them. That's always the best way to explain things.
You make sure they listen.
You have a very captivated audience.
At the very least, yes. And a terrified one. And, and you're probably in a lot of trouble afterwards. So, pros and cons, I guess.
So Bill comes in and pulls Blanchard off of his sister, and Bill drags him out of the room and down the hall, all while Blanchard is trying to tell him that something weird is going on. Bill kicks Blanchard out just as Bill's parents get home, and Bill's parents scold Jenny because they told her not to see Blanchard anymore. They also give Billy shit for hanging out with Milo. After the parents go upstairs, we find out that Bill has a big game on the same night that Jenny is having her cotillion. She asks him to zip her up. And when he does, he notices a weird pulsing lump on Jenny's back, but he shakes it off as if he was imagining things. We then cut to Beverly Hills Academy as Bill and Marty, a nerd, debate for the class president election. It's almost like a prep rally, as Bill is obviously one of the most popular kids in school, captain of the basketball team, and dating a cheerleader who introduces him, no less. Marty, on the other hand, gets booed, which does not bode well for his chances at the election.
That's usually how it goes.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Marty doesn't seem to be a popular, and that doesn't really help you in a popularity contest.
yeah, I think what's weird about Marty is he hangs out with like the rich cool kids though.
Yes.
Right? Like so it's weird. Like you would think that he would stand on equal footing with Bill.
Yeah, he's like part of Ted Ferguson's group. They're his cronies.
Yeah, and they seem to run
Maybe
shit.
he's like the bookie or like the accountant of
The
maybe
accountant.
Ferguson's running some illegal businesses.
Is he like the he's basically the lawyer from The Wire?
Yeah.
Right? Like he hangs out with all the cool drug dealers.
Yeah, or like
and all the cool characters, but he's just he's just a lame dude.
yeah, he's what's his name from The Godfather? Tommy? Robert
yes.
Duvall's character.
Yeah. But not saying that Robert Duvall is not cool. Robert Duvall is pretty awesome, but his character not that cool.
Robert Duvall's no James Caan though.
That's true. Yeah. But who is really? You know what I'm saying?
So the debate commences, and Bill's first topic is the proposed new dress code. And while he tries to talk about it, a pretty girl in the front row opens her skirt to reveal her underwear, and Bill starts to stumble over his words. He recovers and throws in one more shot about Marty and how he dresses, and the crowd is back on his side. He then goes back to his therapist and comes in confident, having trounced Marty in the debate and winning the basketball game. This is a weird moment of editing that we never see. Yeah. We never see any lead up to the basketball game, and the coming out of the debutantes has already happened, as if it's hard to tell that it's even happened.
Yeah, it's so weird in the sense that you feel like for some reason it was cut for time. It feels like this is the TV end.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always okay with making these less than 2 hours. So if that's the case, then sure. But I feel like it feels like it's missing because it's such a at least the coming out is such an important part of the plot that it is weird that it more or less doesn't exist except for a tape recording. And
they make a big deal of it too.
I guess you could combine it and have like a montage, split screen, whatever of the basketball game because he's going to that instead of the coming out.
I guess it's to raise suspicion, right? Because the tape can be kind of taken either way at first. So and it just adds more to Bill's paranoia. And it like, did I really hear what I heard, or what is this? Am I misremembering? So I guess if you don't see the coming out, then it leaves more of a mystery, I guess.
It just kind of feels weird because when it like I get that it we know what happened because of the recording, but it also didn't register to me that it had happened already until he confronts Ferguson at the party. He's like, I want you to tell me what happened between you and Jenny at her coming out. Like, I fucked your sister at the debutante ball. And everybody else fucked her too. Like, oh yeah, I guess that had happened. And that's what the recording was.
And it was fun. I wish they would have said, like, give a rating on it. She wasn't bad. It was like, left a little to be desired.
Here's something that I might have missed. He officially adopted? Like, I know the reveal is like Bill doesn't really belong to this family, but is his always assumption that he was adopted?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Right, because at one point the father says something like, don't talk to your mother that way. Oh, my mother? You're not my mother. And I think that's the indication. Right.
Yeah, and I think you were it was part of the gaslighting too, because the therapist, when he says, I feel like I'm adopted, and sort of like he's like, well, all teenagers feel like that, sort of thing.
He mentions that he looks nothing like.
So he doesn't actually know that he's adopted, but he has a suspicion.
Yeah, that's what I feel.
Because they never officially say it. I know they allude to it, and Clarissa even makes a joke, which I guess she is in on it, because when they're dancing at Ferguson's party, he's like, "Do you even know my mom's maiden name?" Because she knows a lot about him. and then she's like,
Mhm.
adopted or biological, and it's
Yeah.
like just like a throwaway
Right.
line. I guess we're to assume by the end of it that he is in fact adopted, and they adopted him so they can home grow this shunting feast, basically.
Right. Yeah, he's like
Right.
cattle
Yeah.
essentially.
But then the therapist starts asking about his family, and it really takes the wind out of his sails. He talks about how him and his family are living in two separate worlds and that his parents don't approve of him. Back at the house, Bill's getting ready to go to the beach but needs suntan lotion, so he knocks on the bathroom door when his sister Jenny is in to grab it, and he sees through the frosted glass that her body looks odd, let's say. Her butt is in her front or her boobs are on her back, and he gets confused and opens the shower door, and Jenny has to cover up very normal looking body. So he grabs the lotion and leaves. But if who walks in while your sister's taking a shower? Yeah.
Not me. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I guess I'm.
I mean,
I'll wait.
I mean, it would have been like as much as like reaching as far as I can for that suntan
Right.
lotion without like getting into like.
Yeah,
got
because
it.
he looks
I'm
at the
out.
frosted glass and like, if you don't see
Yeah.
anything odd, this is still a pretty odd scene.
Yeah.
Mhm. And it's now it's
Yeah.
on you,
Now you're the creep, and then he opens the door too.
Right.
All things.
which is
Yeah.
even creepier. 'Cause what do you? Either way, you're gonna see if she's backwards, like he thinks she is, or not. You're still gonna see your sister naked, and that's not fun
No.
for anybody.
He goes outside and sees his parents talking to the gardener, who is showing his parents a whole bunch of slugs on a dinner plate, almost like he's offering it to them as a meal. And then they small talk with Bill, and it gets awkward, and they just kind of wait for him to leave at some point. It's like, all right, well, you be off now. So then Bill hops into his Jeep and heads to the beach. He's there with his girlfriend, and he tries to make the moves on her on the public beach. They make out, and then she says if he really loved her, he would get them invited to Ted Ferguson's party. I don't understand why he's not invited to Ted Ferguson's party.
How hard is it for you to say Ted and not Turd Ferguson?
Now it's going to be a lot harder because I wasn't even thinking about it until
Yes.
just now.
Mission
Yeah,
accomplished.
great, thanks a lot. Ted Ferguson sits about 10 feet away from them on the beach, but he runs with Marty's crew. Marty apparently has crew. A couple of kids sneak up and steal the suntan lotion and squirt it all over Bill and his girlfriend. Bill chases them down. They drop the lotion and run. Bill falls down. A sexy girl in the skirt from the debate picks it up, squirts Bill in the face with it. Also didn't put in my notes here that this is the first we meet of Clarissa's mom, but we don't really know what context she's in currently.
Yeah.
So Bill cleans up and goes over to Ted, tried to get an invite to his party, but Ted kind of blows him off and tells him that he's not having a party. So Bill walks off, and Blanchard comes up to him with a briefcase and says he has something to show him. Meanwhile, at the country club, Jenny and her dad meet with the judge. There's a very sexual undertone to the whole meeting. She says there's something wrong with her earring, so her dad takes a look. Blanchard takes Bill to a secluded part of the beach and opens the case to reveal a tape recorder. Blanchard bugged his parents' car and Jenny's earring with a listening device, and he plays the tape for Bill, and the conversation between Jenny and her parents revolve around some odd talk about sex and possibly incest, and about Ted Ferguson being her first. Bill's dad, meanwhile, finds the microphone in Jenny's earring. Meanwhile, the tape gets more and more sexual and a bit more abstract. There's even noises of struggle and a person screaming on it. Then Bill blames Blanchard for doctoring the recording and then takes the tape from him and runs off. Bill runs to the therapist's office and tells him about the tape. Therapist tells him to give him the tape, and after some convincing, Bill gives up the tape and leaves.
So this is the moment where I was 100% sure everybody except Blanchard was in on something. Like, because he kept saying, well, give me the tape.
Mm-hmm.
I'll listen. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Kept pushing it off instead of, actually listening to it. I was like, oh. And then as soon as he gave him the tape, I'm like, all right, something's going to happen when they go back the next day.
It's very everybody's in on it sort of movie.
Yeah.
So the next day at school, Bill tells his girlfriend what he heard on the tape, but all she's concerned about is that they aren't invited to Ted's party. So he gets mad that she's giving him shit, so she says they should see other people, and she storms off. Bill then goes back to the therapist, and the therapist tells Bill what he's doing, quote unquote, recording people is illegal. Bill tells him to play the tape, but when he does, it's a very milquetoast version of the conversation that Bill heard the day before. All the more salacious stuff has been replaced with normal cotillion talk. Therapist tells him,
Now, are we supposed to believe that he got the family together to re-record?
Yeah, a little
everything?
re-record sesh, a little ADR.
That's got to be so exhausting to keep this stuff a secret, right?
Probably had.
Oh
He
Jesus!
probably
All
spent
right.
the night.
Found
Spent the
out.
night transcribing it. and then he rewrote a script, and they all had to read it.
And right, and like who knows how many takes.
Oh yeah.
Right, because again, the sister, maybe she flubs a line here or there. You know, she's young. She doesn't know.
She's like, oh, I said turd Ferguson instead of Ted.
Right. Yeah. So it's again, you know where this is going, and Michael Caine is Homer Simpson, right?
Yeah.
What's my motivation, MB?
Is he supposed to be some sort of Rain Man?
Oh, that's them, all right. Yeah, yeah. Are we supposed to believe that they had enough time to get everyone together, write the script, and then record and it to sound professional? Like, does the therapist have a recording studio? Are we supposed to believe this?
Yeah.
I don't.
I mean, that's the whole thing with like conspiracies, right? In terms of like movies, like you have to believe that everybody played their part to a T. It's like
Yeah.
Shutter Island is
I think-
one that comes to mind. It's like, man, everything had so many things
yeah.
had to go right for this to get pulled off.
Yeah, there's so many employees involved there. They all have to play their part, like you said. I think that's why Mark likes this movie, because it's a conspiracy theory movie.
And Mark's
And Mark's all about conspiracy theories.
does love himself conspiracy theories.
Yep, I've been surrounded by them my whole life.
I just wish he had like
Hey,
even
but-
a modicum of love that he has for conspiracy theories for art.
Art and
Yeah,
Star Wars.
just a little bit.
I wonder if we're like maybe that's the conspiracy theory. He really does love that stuff, but he's just
I think
fooling
that's
us.
a crazy idea, Dan. That's too
It
fucking
is
crazy.
crazy, right? Yeah.
That's enough of that Q talk for one day.
Yeah. We can't have this on the air. It's too out there.
So the therapist then tells him he has to follow the rules of society, and then tells him that he needs to write him a prescription for drugs. So then Bill calls Blanchard on the doctor's phone and makes a plan to meet up for another copy of the tape. Bill races to the meeting location, but before he does, he sees police activity on the road and sees Blanchard's van overturned. He gets out and sees Blanchard's body covered in a sheet get put in the back of an ambulance, and they take him away.
He asked the cop, dead. No, we always cover the live people up in a bloody sheet. That's always how we transport them.
Bill starts nosing through the contents of the van, finds the tape recorder, but gets shooed away by the police officer. Bill goes home, and Jenny gives him a telegram that came for him, and his family is very interested to see him open it. So Bill reads it, and it's just an invitation to Ted Ferguson's party that night. They're acting like it's his acceptance letter from Stanford or something.
Right. He got into Dartmouth.
Stanford, Bill, read it.
Right. What is
so
it say?
nervous. No, you read it for me.
You're right. For me. You got it. Oh, yeah.
I don't remember my college acceptance being that dramatic.
No. Yeah, I had to like beg to get into college, so it was mostly it was a foregone conclusion. We knew that I was getting in.
You know how many dicks Stan had to suck to get into college?
Quite a few. All right. I'm not proud of it, but I listen. College education. That's what came out of it. A few other things.
More than 3, less than 10.
Yeah. We'll let you figure it out from there, folks. Tweet us at the main Damie what you think the number is. You get a prize if you guess the number.
Yeah. I was trying to think of a good hashtag. I can't think of one.
No, there's really nothing there. It's like hashtag how many. Dan, how many? I don't know.
I'm trying to think. There's probably a good play on words for like filleting something in like college admissions, but we'll figure it out. We'll workshop it off air.
Right. We'll brainstorm and
in 20.
I don't know.
In
what
20 minutes, Mark is going to yell something out because he'll spend the rest of this episode trying to think of one.
You know me too well.
Yeah. So Bill reads it as just Ted Ferguson's party. And the parents already know about Blanchard's accident, and they're all very blasé about the whole thing, as is Jenny. So Jenny changes the subject back to Ferguson's party, as she doesn't want to think about the whole Blanchard thing again. So Bill goes to Ferguson's party, and he sees the sexy skirt girl again. She comes up to him, and they wind up slow dancing. Her name is Clarissa. As they talk, Milo comes over and starts asking Bill about Blanchard, and Milo insinuates Clarissa is a hooker. She walks off to a tent in the backyard. Bill follows Clarissa into the tent and finds Ferguson and his goons there. Bill demands to know what happened to Blanchard and what happened to Jenny the night of her coming out. Ferguson says he fucked his sister, and then everyone else fucked his sister afterwards. And then Ferguson ran Blanchard into the telephone pole and also says something vaguely anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
He
What
calls
does he say? I
him
don't remember.
bagel breath.
Yeah, that's pretty anti-Semitic. Unless he just happened to eat like an onion bagel.
Well, at the funeral, there is an enormous Star of David hanging over the
That's
casket.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. I forgot about that.
Billy punches Ferguson in the face, so then Ferguson has his goons toss Bill into the pool. And Bill climbs out of the pool, and Clarissa is there, and she tells him that he's going to lose the button on his shirt, and then she pulls it off and tells him to come over to her house, and then they fuck.
Yeah, I love the line from Ferguson here, where he's something like, "If you mess with me, you'll make waves," or something.
Something like that, yeah.
Then they throw him in the pool. It's a really awesomely cheesy '80s line.
Yeah.
Clarissa's I get she's a woman, and I guess you don't have to try that hard, but that was really unsexy. Like, oh, this button is coming undone. It's the bottom button.
Yeah.
It does nothing. The top button, you got to start at the top, Clarissa.
I think it's the next line that gets him when she asks if he wants to go get soaked. So
With my, I'm gonna say it. It's too far.
just leave the innuendo there.
Yeah, we'll leave it there. But yeah, it was making me laugh. Like, why is she unbuttoning the second button? That does nothing.
Well, I mean, she wasn't the one that picked the button to almost fall off. She just took it as her opening.
Yes, but I guess but take liberties.
She could have just been like, "Let's go back to my place and fuck," and he probably would have said yes.
Right?
Because he'd be stupid not
Yeah,
to.
Bill,
Let's be honest.
and he just got his ass kicked. So a better way than to heal your wounds and to have a lovely lady help you out.
Try and get herself into college. The Dana Klein way.
I don't think Billy's gonna help her get into college, but
It's worth a shot. Give it the old college try.
you never know, right? Like, how does this work now, Billy? Do you talk to the dean? What are you talking about? What dean? Oh, I just thought if I slept with you, could get into Stanford. I'm 18. I don't know what's going on here. I don't help people get into college. Is that what this was?
And she had her recommendation letters all ready to go.
Right. Yeah. She filled out her application, book that changed her life. She had it all written down.
Amelia Bedelia.
Right. It's Pippi Longstocking.
This is just giving more time for Mark to think of the hashtag.
Right.
Working on it.
Eagerly typing away.
After coitus, Bill imagines maybe that he sees Clarissa with her body like in a weird position.
She has
three hands, and like her back is twisted. Her legs are going one way where her body's going the other one. After they've done the deed, Clarissa offers Billy some tea and asks him if he wants her to pee in it. Which is a line.
And he handles it very, again, blasé, like you're something.
Class act.
Yeah. No, I was thinking to myself when after they do the deed, and he sees her backwards. Like, pussy's so good, it's got you seeing things backwards. That's the kind of woman you want, man. Just got you seeing shit.
So meanwhile, outside, Billy's ex-girlfriend Shauna followed him from the party and is in her car crying. I guess she's not in on it, right? She doesn't show up at the end, does she?
No, I don't think so, right? Because it's Clarissa and her mom.
Your girlfriend?
Was that?
What are you talking about?
Shauna? Shauna's not in on it.
I don't think she's there. Unless if she looks completely different.
I don't think she does.
Right. No, I don't think she's in on it. I think she kind of drifts away. Rightfully so. Her character's terrible.
So Bill and Clarissa start going for round 2 on the couch, but Clarissa's mom comes in. Clarissa's mom is different, shall we say. Seems like she's not there at all. She spits out a hairball and gives it to Bill. Because I guess she's just coming from a shunting. I wonder how often these shuntings happen.
Good question. I thought it was supposed to be like a fall harvest kind of thing, or a summer harvest. Like it's almost like the equinox,
Right, yeah.
I guess. Every once in a while, because then it kind of loses its meaning if they just constantly do it.
You would think.
I
mean,
don't
but
know.
that's where her mom's coming from, right? Because she spits up a hairball.
Oh yeah. Why else would she be doing that, right? It's not like she just goes around, I guess, eating people's hair. Who knows with her? But yeah, I think that makes sense. There would be a shunting going on.
So I'm questioning whether or not Clarissa is in on it. If she participates in that.
Well, she doesn't seem too surprised at the end.
Yeah. Like I bet obviously she must know because she did the whole backwards thing. Yeah, I don't know what Clarissa's not a fully formed character, I guess. Let's just say that.
Yeah, she's a sympathetic character in a way. Yeah, I think she's just there for boobs, really.
Clarissa
Character development.
Was that?
Character development.
Man,
boobs.
there you go. She's got some nice ones.
Sure does.
Clarissa puts her mom to bed and says that her mom does things that she doesn't approve of. The next morning, Bill goes to his car and finds someone has put an inflatable sex doll in his front seat. Then Shauna comes up and starts fighting with Bill and asks if Clarissa was a good fuck, and she storms off when she sees the sex doll. So Bill brings the sex doll to his parents' room and he finds them in various stages of undress with his sister, who's getting a back rub from their dad, as the mom seems quite drunk, and Bill calls his dad a butthead, which is very important. And it's all very crazy.
Yes, that comes back into play.
Yeah.
So then Bill and Milo go to Blanchard's funeral, and Milo touches Blanchard's face, and it winds up caving in. And they say it must be a reconstruction that they had to do on him because of the accident. And Marty comes up to Bill and tells him that they need to talk about all the shit that's going on. Tells them to meet him later that night. So Bill goes to the meeting spot, and Milo follows him. And when Bill goes into the woods looking for Blanchard, Milo sees a car pull out and drive off. As Bill goes deeper into the woods, he comes across Marty's car. As he opens the door, Marty's body falls out. His throat has been slashed. Bill hears some voices. He goes deeper into the woods trying to find out who did this. Eventually, he comes out of the woods and winds up at Clarissa's house. So he knocks on her door and tells her about Marty, and then he goes inside to call the police. He brings the cops out to the woods and he brings them to where he found Marty's car. And it's a different car, and Marty isn't there anymore. So the cop, who was the same cop that Marty saw at Blanchard's accident, frisks him and tells him that the next time they see each other, it will not be pleasant. Foreshadowing. The cops leave, and Bill and Clarissa spend the night sleeping in Bill's Jeep. The next day at school, there's another debate set up for class president. Bill shows up and tries to get Jenny to tell him what's going on, but she doesn't say anything. Then Bill addresses the crowd, saying that Marty isn't going to show up because he was murdered, and he was murdered by the same people that killed Blanchard. Everyone laughs him off, and then Marty shows up completely not dead. So Bill storms out. Milo chases after him and tells him that he was the one that put the sex doll in his car, but he also saw certain things that night before. He also saw someone drive out Marty's car, and then the car that they switched out. And Milo says that it was really weird and that he wants to help Bill. So Bill goes home, and his therapist and the judge are sitting down with his parents and Jenny, and they say that they're all very worried about him. So Bill starts to freak out, and they restrain him, and the doctors knock him out with a sedative, and they put him in the back of the ambulance and drive away. So Milo follows in the car, and they wind up at the hospital where they bring in Billy on a gurney. Milo goes to the reception and demands to know where they brought Billy. The reception tells him that he will have to go to the morgue. Meanwhile, Billy's in a hospital bed restrained.
I don't think the nurse is in on it.
I think she is.
Yeah, I think she might be. It is weird that he would go straight to the morgue.
Right. That's the confusing part. Like, they send him to the morgue, but he's not dead.
Mhm.
There's no one there to kill him either.
Yeah, why I think she might not be in on it, because when he goes and asks about him, she's like, oh, I can't find him, and he's like, I'll make a call, and then probably was like, oh, he's down here in the morgue, so she just goes and tells him.
I guess, you know what,
could be
actually,
right.
because she is a blue-collar worker, she probably is not in on it.
Yeah.
Although I guess
point.
the ambulance
She's
workers
not.
and the cops technically are too, but I'm going to guess that she's not, because she's also a person of color.
Yeah. There are no people of color in the society. It's all rich white folk.
Yeah, and Dan, to your point, I don't think that they don't want him to die in the hospital. They want him to...
Right, because they need him.
They want him to think that he's escaping.
Right.
So...
that makes more sense.
So that he just comes back to... Yeah, it's... Again, once he gets out of the hospital, he could do a number of things. He could just go. He could just leave. Drive his car wherever. Yeah.
Right. He holds no real affinity towards these people anymore.
Let the open road be your guide, man.
Yeah, just get your sweaty ass out of there. It's perpetually sweating, this kid. I guess because it's Beverly Hills, but holy shit, man. Cut yourself off. It bothered me how sweaty he was throughout this whole movie.
Meanwhile, Billy's in a hospital bed restrained. He comes to and pulls off his restraints and walks out of the hospital without much effort. He meets up with Milo in the parking lot, and his Jeep is oddly there waiting for him. and he is officially unhinged. Milo is trying to talk some sense into Bill, telling him that they've had him declared dead and that something is about to happen. And Bill just kind of says, "I'm not paranoid. All my fears are real," which is a great line. So Bill goes to Clarissa's house and winds up slapping her around a lot, which is an odd move for this movie to decide for our character to do. It's just slap around a woman. She tells him not to go to his house, and he laughs her off and leaves. Meanwhile, Milo is following him everywhere, and Clarissa's mom winds up sneaking into the back of Milo's car and grabs him by the hair, but she's benevolent and winds up tagging along with him. Bill goes home, and there's no one home, as much as he hears voices and looks for them around. He arms himself with a knife, and he hears a car pull up. As his parents walk through the door, the lights in the house turn on, and the house is filled with people. The cops show up and puts a restraint around Bill's neck, and he is restrained by a couple of other people. Bill's therapist then addresses the crowd of what has to be about 100 people, congratulating everybody on a job well done. He introduces the judge, and everyone is just so pleased with themselves. Bill, still restrained, asks what the hell's going on. Judge explains that he was never one of them. You have to be born into society, and he's not part of their race, breed, species, or class. Bill calls them alien scum, and the judge corrects him and says they're not aliens. They've been around as long as humans have. It's just a matter of quote unquote good breeding. Outside, Milo and Clarissa's mom watch from their car as more people show up, and an ambulance pulls up and drags someone out of the back. They bring that person into the party and take off his head cover to reveal it to be Blanchard. Meanwhile, Milo and Clarissa's mom are having a sitcom side story on the outside as they beat up a cop to steal his uniform in order to get inside. Also, Clarissa shows up, but she's not happy to be there, and she's grown feelings for Bill. This all leads us to the shunting. I don't have many notes about the shunting. I figured we would just talk about the shunting here. What to say about the shunting and how to describe it. It's a feast of sorts.
You could say that.
Yeah, it was tying it back to the I think you should leave thing. It kept getting worse than I thought it could get as it went along. Like at first you're like, oh, okay, maybe they're just gonna it's gonna turn into an Eyes Wide Shut orgy or something like that, and it's not anything really terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But then you're thinking, oh, it's a horror movie, it's got to be something, and then it turns into those people basically sucking the one guy dry as though he was, he was like a drink,
Capri Sun.
yeah, like a Capri Sun.
It's awesome.
And then the next step is when the judge gets involved.
Yes, and he fists him, Blanchard, right.
Blanchard.
Oh, man.
He fists him right up the gut. So to describe the shunting,
I'm assuming he goes through his butthole,
yes,
right?
he says
there's only one way.
Yeah, I think he says something, let's get to the bottom of this, and then he fists up his ass.
Mhm.
So the shunting, it starts off with people feeding on Blanchard and what you think they're just going to eat him wholesale. Their faces start to elongate and melt and mold like clay and putty into these long sucker mouths, similar to, I guess, slugs, and they all become one, right? They all become like
it's like a blob.
Yeah, they all become some sort of blob, and they're all very oily and sweaty
Very
and
wet.
horny.
Yeah.
This is very horny scene, and not a good type of horny. It might make you not horny for a very long time after that. And they just start molding into each other as they feast on Blanchard, who is the main course. Actually, no, he's the appetizer. Bill is the main course.
He's the appetizer.
Yeah, Bill's I hate how they resolve this too. Like I said at the beginning, there's some really good practical effects, and it's all in this scene where Billy runs away and he walks in on his parents being super creepy with his sister, and then the dad, who Billy called a butthead earlier, becomes an actual butthead where he morphs his face through his butthole. And he makes some very silly butthead references, and like he does it, like he farts with his mouth, and I guess, hey Billy, I guess you're right. I am a butthead. Just like, man, this is going off the rails.
Eventually, Clarissa helps Bill take the harness off his neck, tells him to run. He runs and tries to escape, but no one will let him leave. So he runs upstairs with the doctors after him. He ducks into his parents' bedroom, finds his mom and his sister in some sort of weird sexual cat dog, and then his dad pops his head out from under the blanket, paying off the best butthead joke ever. Eventually, Bill makes it back downstairs and he challenges Fergus into a fight. So they just say, sure, they're going to fight.
It's such a weird way to resolve this.
Because they never lose.
They never lose. So Ferguson just beats the shit out of Billy. Just tears him a new asshole, but not literally. Because then he goes to feast on Billy, and Billy tears Ferguson a whole new asshole. Billy punches up into Ferguson, into his torso, out of his mouth and eyes, and then pulls him inside out back through his torso.
This scene made me laugh so hard. And Billy kisses Ferguson and shoves his fingers wherever. And the next scene is like Ferguson's lips are like duck lips. And he's making this like it's making me laugh so hard. It's such a silly scene. I don't know what they were going for at that point. I guess he's just like, oh, he's in pain now. Oh, great! Like the cosmetics are just so silly. It's like it's like silly putty essentially, making this weird. Like, it's like someone's like going sound. I loved it so. It's my favorite moment in the entire movie.
So everyone freaks out and everyone just stares at Billy. So Milo, Billy, and Clarissa leave, but not before Billy gets to punch his dad in the face one last time. And then we end on a joke about the judge telling, or the therapist telling the judge, or I don't even remember who was who. The therapist and the judge look almost exactly alike. You could barely tell who they were. But they make a joke about how now Ferguson internship position will open up. You kind of have to be. And that's the end of society.
Just ends.
Nothing's resolved. But it's great. It's so wild.
Yeah. I like how they do that. I like how they just there is no like 'cause I kept thinking the first time I saw this, are they gonna blow up the blob? Are they gonna blow up the house? Or is there some kind of toxin they'll use? No, they just beats the shit out of Ferguson.
Yep.
And they kind of just admit defeat. Like, all right, well, I guess you get to go now. As are the laws of the shunting. If you beat one of us, you win your freedom. And
Highlander.
Right. Like if you win, you just get to go. And that's it. Because I guess no one will believe you. If no matter where you go, like, yeah, there's this whole feast where everyone turns into a blob. Like, oh, okay. Whatever you say, crazy man. I like how it ends on the. I guess they have a opening spot for that internship this summer after all. And that's the end.
Black.
Like it's such a it's such a silly movie, and it's such a silly way to end it. It's perfect the way it ends.
Yeah. I also get the sense that it was like, how do you end this movie?
Right. Yeah. I wonder if that's what they thought. Like, let's just end it, right? Like, he doesn't have to do anything crazy. Billy doesn't have to do anything outlandish to stop them. It's just society goes on, man. Even if you beat one of them, they're out there, and you'll never win.
Yeah, that's basically the only other ending. Like, they could like go to the next town or somewhere further away and like go to a cop, and it's like they find evidence that is like, oh well, it's happening here too.
Right. There's like different, I guess, sects.
A real Twilight Zone sort of ending. But
right.
Yeah, this is great. That is so weird, but yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah, you guys got anything left? Anything left?
Last thing, I like how they build up to it, where nothing insane really happens, just some tricks of the eye, really. Is Billy crazy, or is something really going on here? I like that, and then they drop the hammer on you in the third act, and yeah, man, this is insane. You thought you knew where this was going? No, sir. This is they pull out all the stops in the third act, and it's such a cool reveal. I like how they did that. I thought it was very interesting. And again, if you like schlocky B movies, this is a good one. This is a really good one, but it's not going to be for everybody. That's for sure.
Okay, great. You guys want to plug your shit? Oh wait, before Mark, did you have that hashtag ready?
Yeah. No, I didn't think of one.
Okay. All right, plug your shit.
At Diaquino122, where you can tell me how many you think I did. That's my personal Twitter. We could also check out at Stranger Damies. That's our Real Play D&D Twitter account. We post updates, new episodes, and we just talk about random things, comic books, movies, you name it.
Yeah, and Stranger Damies, our D&D podcast, airs every other Wednesday. You can find it Wherever you get your podcast, please be sure to like and subscribe and write a review, whatever you can do on your podcast app of choice. As Dan mentioned, we're on Instagram and Twitter at Stranger Damies. And then we have our gaming podcast, Game Vault Pod, every other Monday. You can find it on all socials at Game Vault Pod. And we are on all places to get your podcast. And we have twitch.tv/Game Vault Pod, where we stream 3 nights a week. Mondays is Tom's old school games day. That is where he plays through our retro roulette that we do on the podcast. And then some other retro game. Right now it's Chrono Trigger. But for a special time during October, he's playing through Resident Evil 2 Remake, thanks to the subscription goal that was met last month. So be sure to like, share, and subscribe. All that good stuff with Game Vault Pod. And the most important thing that's happening is we have our Extra Life stream that is coming up on Saturday, November 13th, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be starting off with a session of Stranger Damies, and then we go into video games from there. Currently, the website is up for you to donate. All the details haven't been completely filled in yet because we're still working on some. And I know we got to get some artwork up there. I'm working with Jen on that. And then that should be all ready to go, hopefully, within a week or so. But you can still donate anytime before the stream on the 13th if you are unable to make it. You can go to our tiny URL, which is tinyurl.com/MarkHatesArt. Once again, that's at tinyurl.com/MarkHatesArt. Any amount of money helps, so feel free to donate what you can. We're going to have some special stuff on the 13th, so if you want to hold out till then and sort of split up your donation, help us with the wheel and other things we might be planning, feel free to do that. All donations go until the end of the year. We'll probably do one last push like we do every year. The last week of December, playing some Jackbox stuff as we do for a couple hours. So as long as you get in by December 31st, 2021, it will count towards our total. And if you are streaming for Extra Life on your own and you would like to join us, you can join our team. It is Game Vault Pod. We would love to have you adding to the team goal there. So once again, Saturday, November 13th, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay, great. And we are They Called This Movie. You can find us on Spreaker and wherever you get your podcasts just by searching They Called This Movie. So Spotify, iTunes, Google Play Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast, we will be there if you just search They Called This Movie. We are themaindamie.com. That's our main website. And it is also how you can find us on all social apps. So that's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Type in The Main Damie and we will be there. We're also on TikTok. You can find us at They Called This Movie on TikTok right there. We post a little clips from our shows. Probably going to do some stuff for Extra Life to see some behind the scenes stuff there. We are proud member of Geek Vibes Nation. You can find them at gvnation.com and on all socials and all podcast streaming apps just by searching Geek Vibes Nation. So tons of great shows. If you're into geek stuff, there's surely a show for you. Have any suggestions for any movies that you might want us to cover? Hit us up at themaindamie@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. We'd love to get some user suggestions. Always love to accommodate those. If you got a spare second or two, please go on to your podcatcher of choice. Give us a 5-star review. It would really help us out, get us noticed, so we could beat those algorithms. That's going to wrap it up this week. The director of Society is Brian Yuzna. So for Dan Aquino and Mark Myers, this is Anthony Del Vecchio telling Brian Yuzna, well, you certainly made a movie, didn't you?